I'm showing you here the project I got going on. I have 3 guitar bodies here, and here's the corresponding necks down there. I've been working out of my garage for some time. I don't do this professionally anymore, so I do this more as a hobby out of my garage, although the guitar here, the V, that's for Sean Vanek, who plays in Midnight and has his own band Vanek as a solo project. That one will be done for him really soon. And I needed to get a better spray system. So here's the Earlex 5500. I bought it on Amazon. I'm not sponsored. I bought this with my own money, and I wanted to give you a nice comprehensive breakdown and review on what I'm doing here. So here it is. I left it disassembled. That way we can put it back together and look at it in great detail. Okay, we're going to start with the motor here. You can see it has a carry handle on it, and it has a place for you to set the cup of the gun to hold it when you're not using it. And then you can see where the hose attaches, and then at the very bottom is its on-off switch. The first thing I found kind of annoying is when you take this cup to go put it in, it doesn't seat very easily. And then when you do push it in, it doesn't come out easy. You can see it's even lifting the unit up as I do it. The handle is fine. There's nothing to say about that really. It's a handle. The biggest problem is the friction fit hose, and then they put this button way underneath inside of there, and it's really kind of hard to get to. I will say in all fairness though that it's pretty lightweight and it's pretty portable and easy to move. It also isn't mega loud. Let's turn it on and you can hear it. That's over me talking. It's about the same as a normal vacuum. If you couldn't hear me good, that's about the same as a normal vacuum. Now I'm going to move on to the gun and its components. Here's the actual gun itself. You can see where there's the fluid hose, there's the connector to make this the lid of the can. Here is the air line that goes into the fluid can, and then this is where you put your fluid tip and your needle, and you can see that in there. The one thing that is very cool on this gun is this is a spring-loaded mechanism. Let's see if I can show it to you real good in here. And you can push it in and out. What's really cool about this, if the camera focuses, is that when you put your air cap in, and I'm going to put it in, it locks at your 90 here, and then when you turn it, it can lock at your 45, and it can lock this way. Anybody who's ever really sprayed a lot knows it can be really frustrating when you're trying to thread this onto a gun and keep this perfectly straight the way you want it. It's sometimes not easy to do. This makes it very easy to do. But one thing that is strange though is that because of this spring-loaded mechanism, they give you this wrench, if you can see it down here, and that pushes into the spring mechanism to actually be able to tighten your actual fluid tip. It's a little awkward to use. It takes a minute to get used to, but it's no big deal, and having this feature is well worth it. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how this goes together. There's your needle. Here's your fluid cap. You screw it in that way, and then you take this and you have to kind of push in on it and turn it. It's not hard, it's just a little awkward, and it takes a minute to get used to. But then, like I said, this is now not able to turn, and it stays right where you want it at your 90 degrees. Here, let me get it. There we go. Very cool feature. Now the can inside is a Teflon coating, and it's very easy to clean. I will give them that. It actually holds a pretty decent amount of fluid too, and it locks in pretty good. But one of the biggest problems I have with this gun is this part is not Teflon coated, and you know I have to scrub it. I can see just in 1 or 2 coats of finish that I've sprayed through this gun, I'm already getting a buildup down here. It sticks like crazy, and it is kind of hard to clean because you have a lot of obstacles around here that you have to get in. That is definitely one of my major complaints about this gun. If you're going to Teflon coat this, there's no reason you shouldn't put some kind of coating on here too. It is the other side of the can. Now, if you see this hole here, this is where your air hose is going to plug into it. I'm going to put it in right now. It is just a cheap plastic hose that friction fits. And to be honest with you, I think this thing is going to break pretty easily. And when I looked online and searched, at least, and maybe I didn't do a good enough search, but I could not find where they sell just a replacement hose for this. If you want a rubber hose and have some kind of locks in here to hold this thing in place, you had to buy their higher end model, which was double the price, just basically to get a better hose. I have already had this thing pop off on me 5 times while spraying. Let me repeat that, 5 times. And it's really hard when you're wearing gloves and you've got the gun running and everything to try to put this back together. And when it popped off, of course, it made the finish drip onto my guitar, made me a mess. Fortunately, I was able to brush it out and continue coating. But that right there for me is probably a deal breaker, and I think this gun is going back. Now, underneath the air hose is your fluid control. And you will see this, because of this air hose, it makes it kind of hard to turn. It does move pretty easy and adjust, but I'll tell you what, when I was pushing this in one time, I didn't realize I did that, and I accidentally turned the fluid knob, and I started spraying too much fluid. Fortunately, I caught it right away. But they could have definitely positioned this better to that. I will say in all fairness that I believe this gun is machined very well. All of the money that you're spending on this unit is pretty much going into the gun. Now, I do want to talk to you about the fluid control itself. I'm using a pretty low viscosity finish, and one of the problems that I'm encountering is this thing is putting out way too much fluid for me. I really need to be able to cut the fluid more. I'm spraying, here's the fluid completely maxed all the way off, and I'm spraying with it only turned about here. I put a marker line on there for you so you can see it pretty easy. I can't open this gun up anymore or it's flooding the material. Now, that being said, I'm using a low viscosity. So I went and took and put some water in here and sprayed it and realized it's on a low viscosity, it's not atomizing the finish super great. But what I am finding that if you put a high viscosity in here, something like your latex paints or auto paints, auto finishes, etc., I'm sure it would spray and atomize them wonderfully. But it really was not meant for a lower viscosity finish. And I certainly wouldn't want to try to spray stain or dye through this because it would just flood everything. I'll be honest with you, for entry level, this is a pretty good purchase. You're going to have some struggles with it, but if you want to use a high viscosity paint or urethanes or things like that, I don't think it's a bad buy. I'll give the thing 3 stars, but in truth, if they would fix that hose and maybe give you a little better housing here, or at least put a lock on this end of the hose as well, I would probably give you 4.5 stars, even if it cost $50 to $75 more. Over the years, I've downsized my shop and everything, and I needed to buy a better system or a very small, compact system. I don't have any room here in my garage for a giant compressor. I'm certainly not wired for a compressor. I don't want to have to run wiring for a compressor. That's a way big hassle. Also, it's really expensive. So turbine systems really kind of eliminate a lot of that problem. They still come with their own problems too, but to have something small and compact to use while you're spraying for small projects like I'm doing, where I'm just doing a few guitar bodies and necks, that's exactly what I need. The problem is that this unit was really designed for paint, and it definitely wasn't designed for what I'm doing.